And so now I'm teaching him how to do that. And so it's like really exciting, right? So there's so many amazing things happening. I closed a $50,000 deal while we're in Thailand. That was such a
50,
crazy
50.
Yeah, $50,000.
We were in Thailand.
It was like 1.7 million Thai baht or whatever, which is like more than the average Thai person makes in like 5 years or something. And then even today, FedEx showed up. I just got a check in the mail. So
it was in his pajamas. I'm like, what? You're trying to surprise me. I'm like, I checked.
So things are happening. We just closed our 7th deal of the year. You know, we don't close the most deals, but we set our goal to make the highest assignment fee, which averages around 25,000. So even our acquisition partners are making $5,000 a deal.
Welcome to another episode of the Wholesale Elite Podcast. I'm Isham and I'm joined by my dude, Tanner Santucci. What up, bro?
What's going on, bro? It's gonna be a good one.
Ladies and gentlemen, guys, today we are joined by, just people that are near and dear to my heart. Like this is the first, I want to say you guys are the first guests that have had a round two. And so Paul Nelson and Michelle Garabito. What's up, my loves?
What's up? Good to see you again. Good to see you guys.
So incredible to see you guys. And it's so incredible to see you guys in America because you guys have been traveling.
Yeah.
What's up with that?
Since we last saw you, where did we go? We went to Florida. We went to Disney World. We spent Christmas in Disney World. And it was freezing in Disney World. And then we went to Belize for New Year's, which was amazing. We'll actually talk about it. I actually assigned a deal while I was laying on the beach in Belize.
Very nice.
Went to Thailand and Japan for a month. And then now we're in Arizona preparing for our next trip.
Incredible. I mean, incredible. It seemed like you guys were in Southeast Asia for a little while.
5 weeks.
5 weeks. Yeah.
Oh, wow. 5 weeks. Yeah. That's, man, I look forward to getting my business on autopilot, to a degree, to where you guys are, to where I can really, because I'm a lifestyle guy, lifestyle dude is my Instagram. It's, I've never been money motivated. It's always about the things that money can do for you. And so, I mean, you guys have been my North Star for a long time. So I'm so honored to have you guys back on. Like, this is really cool. Guys, okay, so the last time we talked, for anyone who hasn't seen or listened to the last episode, I want to say it aired in like the beginning of December, but we recorded it in November. And back then, please go back and review that. If you guys aren't familiar with Paul and Michelle, they're obviously a dynamic duo. Like they're crushing it. They're not married yet, but that's irrelevant. So if you're looking for the same name, I just want to give you guys that heads up. Paul's last name's Nelson, Michelle's Garabito, but they're phenomenal people. And when I got into the astro flipping community last year, they were already, their business was getting traction. They were the ones who were invited out to speak at our big masterminds that a lot of people would pay a lot of money to go to. And I'm like, okay, these guys got it. But then I learned that we shared a similar past. I came from the industry of network marketing or MLM, or there's many other words that people can call it. But Paul and Michelle did as well, and they, like me, didn't have the best experience, with that industry. And although there are some great companies out there, it's just, it just wasn't a good fit. And so we needed to find something that aligned more with our values, and then also something that could provide us a great lifestyle. And so I saw that these guys crushed it in network marketing. Now they're crushing it in real estate. And I'm like, oh my God, there's hope. This is so cool. And so the last time we had you guys on, we talked about the journey. We talked about network marketing, the challenges that you and Paul faced. I mean, it was just unreal stuff that happened to you guys. And the fact that you didn't let that get you down. You guys were not victims, you were victors. And as usual, you pressed forward and you found the new thing and you dominated. And you guys found Astro, and you told Jamil, just to give a little recap, you told Jamil, hey, at least Michelle did, yo, if this isn't real, like I will come find you and F you up.
That's right.
It's definitely real. And now we're going to move on to part 2, where we talk about what's been happening, not even since the inception. Like, we're past that. You guys have plenty of content out there to talk about that. I want to talk about the success you guys have been having lately. Now, we're a mindset show, you know what I mean? So we want to talk stories. I'm going to jump in and ask, maybe a little, deep diving questions about, hey, tell me a little bit more about that. But I kind of want to just kick it over to you guys. I probably should give you some sort of a timeline for reference, but I know you guys are used to speaking publicly. So I would love to throw it over to you guys and kind of pick up where we left off. And let's just kind of start there, if you wouldn't mind.
Cool.
Yeah, well, the last 6 months have been quite a lot.
Yeah.
Oh man, I don't even know where to begin.
Where was the last thing we said? From like, what was it? The last thing that we talked about? Do you remember?
Yeah. We really wanted to get into you guys' story at the time, but we literally spent probably 40 minutes just really going into a warning and almost a cautionary tale of, hey, anyone who's involved in network marketing or MLM, just beware, and be cautious. But know that there's options out there. There's hope out there. And so that's kind of where we left.
Okay. Yeah.
All right.
I know, it's like hit the rewind button on 3 years.
Yeah.
So long ago.
If every time people ask us about our network marketing journey, it really feels like it was another lifetime ago.
Like I always talking about like an ex-partner, it's like that's past.
But it's fine, we don't have any hard feelings or we don't have any bitterness towards that journey. We're actually very grateful for that journey.
Absolutely.
And that's something that we can talk about. It's like the pros and the cons and the gratitude that we have because of that journey. It just feels like another lifetime ago.
Yeah. I think as we left, we got to see the dark side of it more and more and realize that those red flags that we kept seeing and ignoring were real.
Right.
And that doesn't mean that there wasn't true value there. We learned a lot of skills, from goal setting to time management to prospecting to team building and leadership skills. So I gained a lot of skills that if I didn't have that experience, I don't think I'd be having the success in real estate now. Right. And we'll talk about it later. What I'm doing now, I'm applying everything that I learned here, except in an environment that will actually pay me, not in an environment that other people get paid.
Right.
Skills,
absolutely.
We learned the skills. We sowed the seeds, but it was just in the wrong environment, in the wrong company, with the wrong leadership, and in my opinion, not a real business. Now we're doing it where we're actually entrepreneurs running our own companies, and we can apply those skills.
So what has, going from, being in a network marketing company where you don't have, you have a team essentially, but you have to keep your team happy essentially. You know what I mean? Like you got to make sure that it's always roses and things like that. So to not talk about MLM and to move on to real estate, what was the hardest part for you guys in transitioning over into real entrepreneurialism?
That's a good question. Well, I guess both Paul and I have different hardships. We can talk about yours first.
Well, for me, it's so funny. Network marketing, they convince us that we are entrepreneurs, but they're not.
Right.
I truly don't believe that. They're independent contractors working for a company, basically as salespeople and recruiters. So being an actual entrepreneur was totally different for me. It's much more exciting. And then a year ago when I quit my job, it's very different to no longer have that stable income. And now this is really all on me to make this happen. And even in network marketing, I always had some kind of other income stream, or I didn't need that money, or a lot of times I was investing much more money than I was actually making. Right. In this case, we're profiting almost every month in our business, which is a huge difference for me.
For sure. Yeah. I think for me, the hardest part of transitioning was not relating everything to network marketing. It's very difficult to go to events and not think back of here they're trying to motivate and encourage and, and it's very similar. True. A lot of the things are very similar. And so for me, it was very difficult to try to not compare, you know, the what we did in network marketing versus what they do here. But for me, I actually found the transition to be very simple in the fact that I already had the work ethic. I knew how to build a team. I knew how to create processes that created results. It was just about doing it in a completely different industry. And so that's one of the biggest reasons why I invested into Astro, was because Astro already had the blueprint that I was looking for, because I had no idea what I was doing in real estate. So Astro taught me the blueprint, and then I just kind of took it and created it into my own thing. And then when we started to scale, we already knew how to vet people, how to interview people. We knew exactly what we were looking for. And, you know, back then in MLM, we would have different organizations, and which organization would hit what to achieve our goals. And so now we're basically doing the same thing, where we have different departments in our business, and we're vetting and interviewing different people to put them in different departments that they will grow and elevate and grow from their business. But here, you know, we don't really do too much motivation, too much hoorah, too much roses. You know, we're not helicopter mentors, and we don't even consider ourselves mentors. You know,
Sure.
We really like to just lead by example, teach people what it takes to make money, and let people kind of do it on their own, and we just kind of guide them from there.
That's powerful, and that's perfect. I mean, it makes total sense, the transition over, and it's neat that you guys kind of have, you know, almost different perspectives, but you're able to support one another, you know, moving forward. So let me ask you, you guys are brave, bold people. I've seen some of and we're going to talk about it. You know, it's some of the stuff that's been happening recently in you guys' business. Talk to us a little bit about comfort zones and what it means, you know, to get outside of your comfort zone, and maybe an example of something recently that scared the shit out of you guys, but you still pressed forward.
Oh my
Well,
gosh.
let me go first, because you have a lot you can
I have
share.
a lot you can share, and it's very fresh, so you might get.
Well,
give it.
A year ago, my company really hit a standstill with the market shift. And I was sitting around feeling bad for myself, waiting for things to happen, not making it happen, and just going down this rabbit hole. And, you know, my comfort zone was to just sit there and feel bad instead of doing something about it. And luckily, I've been blessed with an amazing queen by my side who kicked my butt and said, hey, if you actually you have to go fix your company. And so that's when a week later, I was able to sign a deal. I had 18 contracts that got canceled in a row because our strategies weren't working. Our numbers weren't working. I had to redo everything, and I just wasn't willing to. So in that period, I had to step out of that. I had to get back to what I love doing, which is micro flipping and working with other wholesalers. And that's how a week later, I was able to do a deal. And then from there, I had to revamp. I had to look back what was working in our company and what wasn't. Why did we cancel all 18 of these contracts? And one of the things I had to stop doing is working with buyer's agents and start going directly to listing agents, which was very uncomfortable, and I didn't want to have to do that. And then also I had to let go some people that I was working with. And then we completely shifted to now we're experts on the things that we're doing, and it's really, really working. So that was a big one for me.
Great job.
It's not so raw because it was a year.
But no, it's perfect because, you know, like what he said, you know, when Paul feels overwhelmed, and I'm sure a lot of people do, it's not just Paul, but when he feels overwhelmed, he kind of shuts down.
That's me.
So he sits in the couch and watches movies and YouTube videos, and that's totally fine. It's a yellow flag that I noticed when we started dating. And as a woman, for me, like, I call that shit out. I'm not just gonna be like, oh, he's a man of the house, I'm just gonna let him relax. I'm gonna be like, what the fuck are you doing? Get the fuck out the couch. Fix your company, because you're not just going to sit on the couch and expect deals to come and be like, la la la, here's your deal, here's $18,000. Like, that's just not going to work out. We can curse on here.
Yes.
Oh yeah, and Paul, any regrets on dating a Latina?
I got what I asked for.
There you go.
Yeah, you did.
And so, you know, the comfortability of just watching movies and chilling and just be like, I don't want to deal with the growth that I need to make, and like getting out of the comfort zone that it takes, and the work that it takes to get out of the comfort zone for me to be able, for him to be able to fix his company, whatever. That takes a lot of work. And after I put some fire up his ass and he fixed it, a year later, I mean, Paul does less work and makes more money. Just last month, he did $30,000, $40,000, $50,000. When we were in Thailand, he made $50,000 and only worked 2-hour days. You know, he has an incredible team of leaders that bring him exactly what he needs to bring money to the table. And people in his team make $5,000 to $10,000 a month, working very little hours. I mean, he has college students, other people in his team that are flippers and that are successful in their fields, but within his company and the work that he's taught them, they make professional income. And so that's the success that he created, getting out of his comfort zone. That was a year ago. And today he's just reaping the rewards of a year later, where he's made more money in 4 months in his own company than he would have made a whole year working at his W-2. And that's what he created, getting out of his comfort zone. So I forgot to add that part.
Yeah, and something else a little more recently is I started working with that Astro Blaster program, which is doing agent outreach. And that was very uncomfortable for me because I'm a believer of who, not how. And I don't want to be on the front lines talking to these agents, getting cursed out, you know, waking up to like not so nice comments. And so, you know, as soon as I was able to, I trained somebody to take that over for me. So but that was a big, very uncomfortable moment for me to have to do that.
Yeah. And so that's Paul's story. Obviously, my story is a little bit more recent. And by the time this comes out, I'm sure everything will be more announced, because right now I just shared it with the Astro community. But a lot of you guys remember that obviously I had an acquisition manager who eventually I bumped up to COO of my company. And so I basically trusted him to do all things acquisitions. Obviously, there were moments where I would bring on some people, I would train them, and then let him lead the team. So that way I can just focus on the contracts that would come in. So I could just focus on displaying. That's my strength. That's what I love to do. I love to just look at the properties, market it out to my best buyers, assign the contracts, deal with title, and cash the checks. That's what I like to do. I don't like talking to agents. I'd rather hire that out. And so as a CEO of my company, I always look at everything. I look at KPIs. I look at team performance. I look at all the small little datas and the pulses of the company. And this is something, again, that I'm so grateful for, that we experience and learn through network marketing. We always used to look at the pulses of the business. You know, before it used to be, how many plans were you showing, right? How many people were you talking to every single day? How many people you were sponsoring in the business? How many products were being moved? Like, these are the pulses of the company. And so I do the same thing in my real estate business. And that's something that I noticed in March while I was in Thailand. I was looking at the numbers, and we had not closed a deal in Q1 through Prosperity Estates. That's my company. I am not going to wait for my business partner to bring contracts for me to close deals. So I have a separate department where I work with my acquisition wholesaler, my micro flips. So I was closing deals on the side of my company, you know, through me and my acquisition wholesaler. Some of them were new wholesalers that needed help with deals. Some of them were wholesalers like Eric Pinuelas and so many other people that bring me deals that we close on. And then I was looking and I was like, we were getting contracts, 2 to 3 contracts every week. But by the time I would get the contracts, the numbers were off. That like the contract numbers did not make sense. Like there was no way I was going to sell them. And so I started to get like people were questioning me, you know, like this person was asking me like, no, you're crazy. You just have terrible buyers. And so the ego got in the way, you know? And so I basically said, like, if this doesn't change by Q2, we're going to have to discover a different working relationship. That's the nice way of saying, like, you're going to be gone if this shit doesn't change.
Right.
So again, the same thing kept happening. And this was something that was very difficult for me to do because somebody I've been working with for a long time. Many of you guys know this person, and many of you guys know a lot of even the acquisition people that I worked with, and I brought on new people. And so I was checking the pulses of the company and sometimes the health of the business. Again, we learned this in network marketing. When you're not creating results in your company, you have to find the cancer within the health of your business. And unfortunately, the person that was leading the acquisition department for past 1.5 years was the cancer in the company. And so I had to cut the cancer, unfortunately. And now my business is going through chemotherapy right now. And, you know, when you go through the healing process of anything, you know, you have to get rid of old cells and bring forward new cells. And so I've been so grateful for this experience. There's no hard feelings. I love I love my ex-business partner like a brother. And so the way that we agreed to it was for him to just start his own wholesaling company, for him to, kind of spread his wings and fly. He knows all things acquisition. Go ahead and learn how to get new buyers and, give me exclusivity on any contracts you get. If I think it's a good deal, I will share it with my network. But unfortunately, so we basically had to split ways.
Right.
And on top of that, not only was that going on, I just closed our first flip. I shared a lot of the pros and cons on Astro, but one of the pros, obviously, of doing a virtual flip, because I was in 4 different countries while this flip was going on. I was in 4 different countries. So that's the pro. I wasn't there managing the day-to-day, which is a blessing. But one of the cons that I shared in Astro was that I was the only woman in the team of people that we brought on to manage this flip. And so I brought in the equity partner. My ex-business partner was like the manager, and his best friend, who's also been our buyer's agent on a lot of deals, was the contractor and the listing agent. Cool.
Oh, wow.
I always like to interview people. I like to check, people's stats and portfolios before we do anything. So I did do that with my equity partner, and he did a great job. He funded 100% of the profits and all the things. But a lot of the things that I would recommend was not heard, and so I wanted the best of the best contractors. That was not heard. They just chose, his best friend's best contractors, and they had to fire those contractors midway, hire new contractors. This was supposed to be a 3-month project, turned 7 months. Okay.
Ooh.
And by the time that we went live, I would have agents call me and was like, is this project done? And it was because there was so much stuff that was still messed up. And every time I would ask, how's it going? What's going on? Do we need to fly down and stuff? It was always, everything is great. Don't bullshit me. I'm all about happy, joy, and everything is awesome and positive, but I'm also a realist. Like, if things are not going well, tell me so that way we can pivot or we can do something else. So last minute, we had to change the roof. We have to do this, we have to do that. So it ate into our profits. And even by the end of it, there were buyers that were backing out, and I'm asking for the updates, nothing came up. By the end of it, Paul and I only took home $11,000. Now, I'm very grateful for the $11,000, but for a 7-month flip, it is not worth our time and it's not worth our energy. And for some people, it's like, well, that's a lot of money. But again, we have such high standards on the things that we do that did not fit our standards. And so after that happened, I was like, you know what? I no longer want to work with these people anymore. So even when I asked for the financials of the flip, I didn't get it till 4 days later, and I got a stupid screenshot on it. I was not invited to the meeting. Yeah, I got a screenshot. Wow. What the hell is that? I was not invited to the meetings to go over financials and stuff like that. The crazy thing about it is that these dudes think it's okay. Everything is dandy, everything is awesome. Don't you worry, the money will be in your account. No, it's not about that. The money was in my account 3 days late. That is unacceptable. And as a woman that is leading her life with her own finances, I like to have shit in line. And so unfortunately, I had to let all that go. And so with my experience of having another male kind of take over the most important part of my business, which is lead generation, and then working with a ton of men and a ton of testosterone with this flip, it was just extremely evident to me. And again, I feel like I've been ignoring the signs of my vision and the signs of my purpose within this lifetime. And that is to impact, empower, and lead women within this industry. Because I just feel like a lot of women are just not heard. A lot of women are disrespected. They're overlooked. And a lot of men in the industry don't take women seriously in this industry. And I've experienced it. I know many women have experienced it. And so I'm so grateful that all of this happened because it reignited my vision. And so right now I'm in the process of restructuring my whole company, rebranding the whole company. So now it is officially going to be an all-woman real estate investment business. Acquisition team is going to be all women. Obviously, I'm the CEO. I'm a woman. And everything we do is we're going to partner up and focus on women-based companies and learn how to figure out how to grow a company led by women, owned by women, and teach women how to make good money doing wholesaling. So then we can eventually partner up on really fun projects that we have in mind, like owning land and building new construction and doing flips at a luxury level and on a professional level, and partnering up with other badass women like Brittany Berriman when we have officially opened up in the Texas market. So we're partnering up with her and having women lead that department as well, and just continue to really create noise and really focus on empowering women in the space so we can have a voice and just have a place within the industry. So that's where we are right now.
That's phenomenal. And oh my gosh, that's so exciting to hear. You know, I mean, as a dude, I'm just like, okay, you know, that sounds cool. But I can only imagine from your perspective, from your point of view, the power that you're going to generate, you know, not just for yourself, but for that whole, what's the word? Is it sex? Gender. Gender. I'm so scared to say the wrong thing these days, man. But,
so like,
we're canceled. All of a sudden our screen starts melting. But no, but seriously, I don't know if there's anyone that's doing that. And the wild thing is that if someone is, and I don't want to judge them or whatever, but I know your heart. I know you don't take any crap. I know you don't take any L's. And for you to take the stance of building an all-woman business, like, not only is it going to win, but it's going to change so many lives, and it's going to give men a better understanding, hopefully, of the abilities that women have in real estate. Like, it's
correct.
This is a relationship business, and Tanner and I say it all the time. Like, we want women on our team. Like, our team currently, there's only 4 of us. But I don't want to do the whole thing where it's like, okay, we only, you know, look to bring on a girl next, but we're definitely like, hey, ladies, like, please. It's just because the balance, it's so necessary.
And women are
need
relational.
Both.
Yes, women 100%. Are relational. Another thing that I just wish that I could have had a more voice into is like the design. You know, we have an eye for design, and we have a knack for feeling energy and vibes. And, you know, a lot of women like myself, we had to really tap into our masculine energy most of our life. And so, you know, it's hard, you know, to be able to find the strength in our feminine energy when we live in such a masculine dominated world. And real estate is a perfect industry that is an example of such a male dominated industry. Absolutely. And so a lot of, you know, real estate agents, when you talk to them, they're a little bit more masculine. They're a little bit hardcore because, I mean, they have to be. They're dominated by men. Their broker, I'm sure, is a dude, you know, whatever. And so it's so important also to have a partner that, you know, brings forth. Look at Paul, he's like, that's me.
Hey.
I'm so grateful for Paul because he lets me shine within my feminine, so I don't have to take the masculine out too much, you know, and vice versa. You know, I give him the space to be the masculine in the home, in his business. And so don't worry, dudes, Paul has officially opened up a Colorado department for the guys. So, you know, if you want to send us Colorado deal, send it to Paul and he'll bring it to me. It's totally fine. So it's really, really exciting to just really really tap into that vision that I've had when I was 17. You know, when I was in Amway, that's all I wanted. It was another male dominating industry. And so I was the first single woman at the time to hit these levels. And so that's how I became known, was like, wow, there's this single female that just hit this level and did this and has 500 people on her team. And then once I started to prove myself and like really show what I'm made of, a lot of the male egos felt threatened. And so they just tried to bring me down until to the point where they completely destroyed me and my business. I have healed and have overcome through that. And now I'm at a place where no one teared me down. If anything, they just reignited my vision and opened my eyes. Like, wow, that vision is still there. Like that purpose is still there. And I think a lot of people, and this happened to me too, I was kind of losing the essence of the vision and the purpose in our business. Like, I personally don't like to just close deals and call it a day. You know, I don't like to just make money and call it a day. You know, we like to work towards something. You know, we want to be able to like, why is it that we're wholesaling? You know, why is it that we're flipping? Why are we in this? Is it just to post checks on the Astro group? Is it just to say like, oh, look at us, we're digital nomads and we travel the world? And it's like, I feel like there's just so much more to life than just that.
Absolutely.
And so that's really why I'm so grateful for this whatever, everything that has happened, is because it really did reignite my vision and my purpose within myself in the real estate industry. And I'm really excited about it.
Let me jump in and kind of dive a little bit deeper on, women in real estate, because I think it's a very important topic that may get overlooked a lot. And, there's a ton of ladies, especially in Astro and, in our community and just in the world of real estate alone. What do you think outside of men, holding, you know what I mean? When I say holding back, you know what I mean? I just mean maybe not, we're asking you to come in our world. Outside of that, what do you think is the main thing that's holding other women back from excelling in real estate?
I think it's just, when I don't know if you've ever talked to women that have gone through a divorce or a breakup or stuff. And when I don't know why I'm fascinated about these things. I'm fascinated in human psychology. I think I should have been a therapist. Like I'm just fascinated by this stuff. And so a lot of my friends and acquaintances, they're going through breakups and stuff like that. And I always ask, like, what happened? What's going on? And a lot of women say it's just, I felt like I didn't have the space to feel heard or to feel seen. And I don't have a safe space. And I think that's the problem within women in the real estate world, is it's not a safe space for them to be like, no, I'm not doing this, or the numbers don't make sense, or sorry, I'm not accepting that offer, or hey, this is a great deal, I think it's going to be for you, I'm going to send you the assignment contract. Because if women just come at it like that, they are going to be eaten up. Trust me, I have been eaten up by men in this industry. I've gotten cursed out at, I've had threats, I've had lawsuit threats, like I've had it all, because I'm not afraid to bite. I'm gonna bite you, I'm gonna eat you up for lunch, breakfast, dinner, and all of the above. And so a lot of women, they don't feel safe. And so I feel like there has to come a point where more women need to really dive into their internal self and really understand like who they are, whose they are, and understand who, who is in charge here. God created all of us. And so as soon as women figure out like the strength within themselves and their beings, then they will not be afraid anymore. And if we can create a safe space for women to be that head honcho and be confident, be bold, without feeling afraid that they're going to get attacked or looked down upon or pushed aside or fired or whatever, then I feel like it'll be great, and I can relate that to my relationship. Paul has created a safe space for me to be myself, right? Because I'm not afraid for me to be myself and be afraid that Paul won't like me anymore, that he's going to break up with me, that he's not going to ask me to be his wife. Like, I'm not afraid of that. If you don't want to ask me to be his wife, he's not going to find better. As simple as that. And I know that, Solid. And so women need to get to that point where they're so confident in who they are that they're not afraid if something bad happens. They're not afraid if they get shut down, and they're not afraid if a man is like, you're too much, And we need to create a safe space. And I'm really determined to create that for women.
What are some things that women can do to increase that confidence to get there, to get to your level?
A lot of solitude, like just shut the noise, turn off. I know we're listening to a podcast right now. Turn off the podcast, turn off the YouTube videos, stop going to meetups. Like, I know this is like unpopular opinion, right? But you keep going to these events, you keep listening to these podcasts, you keep reading the books, and you're listening to everybody else but yourself. And the best person that can give us the best advice is ourselves, because we constantly listen to our own thoughts. We constantly are talking to ourselves. And so once we get to that point where we're just alone and we can trust ourselves so much that if I need to make a decision, and a hard decision, I trust myself so much that it's going to be such a great decision with the best results, because I have a proven track record that the decisions that I have made up to this point have proven to be incredible. And it just takes a understanding of self-worth, self-determination, and self-understanding, and constantly proving to myself that I can do it. So I always recommend solitude, like hermit mode. Paul and I, we barely leave our house when we're in America. You won't see us at all the meetups everywhere. We don't listen to podcasts. You know, Paul and I spend a lot of time, just me and him, conversing, game planning, praying, meditating, writing down our goals. When we were in Thailand, we spent 5 days in the woods, like in a very remote island with no internet. And guess what where this vision and where this realization and these aha moments and the decision to be able to let go of the people that I did let go happened. It happened in Thailand. And I literally came back to America to execute. That's the only reason why I came back. So solitude, quietness, you know, meditation, prayer, journaling, and just trusting that whatever thoughts come into your mind, all those good thoughts, whatever good thoughts come in your mind, those ideas, you know, those visions, like when you close your eyes and see where you see yourself in 5 years, you know, ask God for guidance and trust that the path that he's going to lead you on is the right path. It's up to you to trust yourself to take that first step and be like, yo, I got this. Like the next step is going to be good. The next step is going to be good. And it's going to be great. And a lot of this, again, it comes from my support to Paul, because Paul knew that I needed to make this move last year. And he just gave me the safe space to be like, she's gonna decide it on her own. And he just gave me that space to vent, to cry it out, for me to share how I'm feeling, instead of saying like, I told you so, you should have done this a long time ago, blah, blah, blah. He'd just be like, you're getting there. And what else? And what else? Tell me more. And what else are you feeling? You know, and what's going on? And what about this? Have you thought about this? And you know, why don't we go this direction and go that direction? And so he's given me that safe space for me to tell him like, yo, this is where I'm going. And what do you think? And so there needs to be a safe space in real estate.
Understandable. You know, as a, you know, Tanner and I are founders of our company. And like I just shared, you know, we definitely need to bring on more people. But we need more femininity and, you know, in our culture.
Yes. You know,
I was raised.
Paul's manager, the one that basically runs his acquisition, is a woman. She has no ego. You know, she is super humble. You know, she says her opinions because Paul, again, gives her that safe space to say her opinions and to say what she feels. And she chooses the right people for the company. But it's some feminine energy is always great. So you say you were raised by mainly women?
Yeah, well, so I was raised by my dad was always in the picture, but my parents split. And so I, at a young age, I got asked the crazy decision of who do I want to live with? And I was like, well, my dad's kind of a hard ass and my mom like gives me everything I want. I'm going to go with my mom. And so, yeah, I ended up choosing my mom. And so, you know, because of that, I was raised by my mom and my sister. And so I, you know, have just a love and an understanding for just for the feminine, you know what I mean? And deep respect. But not a lot of my friends share that same respect, and not a lot of men do. So for us men that are leading organizations, I know you're saying, you know, give them space. What does that look like for us? You know, how do women want to be heard from a male-led organization?
Well, I think Paul should answer this because he, you know,
yeah, Paul, what have you learned from Michelle? Like, what are some of the things that you've learned to just be a better spouse, to be more supportive, to be more understanding of not just her, but of her feminine essence? You know what I mean? And respecting and acknowledging that.
You know, I think a lot of it comes down to what she talked about in terms of, you know, not just women need solitude and personal looking within, men need that as well. And I had to take a lot of years of my life, especially my late 20s, just, you know, doing a lot of things, spending time alone, going to other countries by myself, working with plant medicine, just unplugging from communities to really break down those barriers with the ego, you know, feeling that I need control of everything or anyone, you know, and just letting go of all that. And I think it's that personal work to like you know, it's never about removing of the ego. I don't think it's just about getting it in check, you know, using it when I need it, you know. And I think that's the issue is a lot of men just lead with ego and it's like they can't hear it. You know, a lot of the people Michelle worked with, it's like they're only hurting themselves by not hearing another opinion.
Right.
And of just allowing that ego to go down to say, hey, what do you actually think? It was like, even towards the end of this project, they were in this group saying these sarcastic jokes back and forth. And Michelle's like, what's the update? What's the update? And they're just ignoring her. And, I don't think it's ever intentional or trying to be hurtful or whatever. It's just men, doing their thing where it's just like, they think that they know best. And I think I've taken the time to really work on that, realize just like anybody, I don't know shit, man. I'm after going to Thailand, I'm really intrigued by Buddhism. So I'm reading a book about the teachings of Buddha right now. And I don't remember the exact quote, but he's like, if a person who realizes that they might be a fool means they're probably not one, but a person who thinks they're not a fool definitely is. And so, it's these people think that they know everything and don't have to get any answers and can't get another point of view that are only hurting themselves. And so, I'm grateful that I can have somebody that's so gentle in my business, that can lead people in a gentle way, while also is very confident in who she is, and so it's just attracting high quality people. I mean, I don't know. I don't even know.
I think, and I want to add on, definitely men doing the inner work, like Paul said, is important. Before Paul and I were dating, we were both single for 10 plus years. We were both celibate, not having sex with randos for 3+ years. And so when we came together, we knew exactly what we were looking for. So that inner work is important, but also squash the whole gender role thing, that traditional, men are the head and the woman is the tail, or whatever. What is it? The men is the woman is the neck.
The neck. Yeah.
I'm not no fucking neck. Okay. I'm the head, the hair, the heart. Like, I'm all that, Right. And so Paul and I were equals. We split certain things, or sometimes I pay for things. Sometimes Paul pay for things. I drive, Paul drives. Sometimes I make more money than Paul. This month I made more money than Paul. Last month Paul made more money than me. Doesn't matter. We both freaking win. We are a partnership.
Yeah, when she wins, I win.
Right.
Absolutely.
That's it. And so Paul does the dishes. I don't do dishes. Like, that ruins my nails, and I pay like $100 for my nails. I don't do fucking dishes. I don't fucking clean. We pay a cleaning lady to come clean. Why the hell am I gonna?
We know married people who are like, would hate if their partner made more money than them.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah, that's always been weird.
I think there's a lot of that in men too. Like, they're intimidated by a woman making more money, or even not, being like, I'm the provider. You can't know. Like, you go pursue your passions, but I'm the provider. And I think, we've made it work where it's like, we allow those roles, but there's no strictness.
Yeah, there's no strictness, for sure. It's like, it's equal partnership. And we are both equals. There's no one the head or the neck or none of that shit. It's like, this is not a traditional partnership. And I think that if only men with big egos and that masculine energy can just turn it down a notch and realize that we're right here, we can really take over the world.
And
absolutely,
not just in network marketing, because network marketing was just a microcosm, I think, for the whole world.
For sure, yeah.
And that everywhere you go, especially in any community, a lot of the leaders are men. Alpha males with big egos, controlling,
Except Jamil.
Yeah, Jamil. I bet Jamil's a different breed.
Yeah, he's different.
But a lot of the times it's these high control, insecure men who act all exciting and charming, but they really just want to control people and have power. And so we just let that go. And the goal is to make money and have a good time and achieve our goals. It's a little bit different. So I think if I could just put the ego to the side and use it when you need it, instead of letting it drive the bus, it's just on the bus.
That's huge. That's huge. As you're saying that, I'm thinking about what you're saying, and I'm putting it kind of into mental practice, and it makes all the sense. If I can learn to check my ego, at the time where I feel it coming up, because you can kind of feel it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so if I can learn to check that, especially in a scenario where it's not that I need to curb my ego just because I'm dealing with a woman or whatnot, but I need to be conscious of that, you know what I mean? And be more aware. So thank you for that insight, man. And I do want to ask you, it's a little bit of a pivot, but I'm curious. Paul, I want to ask you this question. What's a criticism that you've heard about yourself that you found is actually one of your greatest strengths?
Well, I think it kind of is actually a good segue, because it's a lot of what you're talking about, is that I am not one of those alpha males. I don't, I've always I've always felt that I'm not. And I think that's been a big criticism, like, especially in network marketing. Oh, here's a great example. In network marketing, most of the leaders are these very narcissistic, controlling men. I think a lot of them lack empathy. So they're like sociopath, psychopathic men, where it's all about, that's how they're able to just use people to achieve their goals, because they're not people, they're just tools to the end, justify their means.
Right.
And in that, I had a lot of success, when I was in network marketing, and in that realm, it was always, what have you done for me lately? So it never mattered what I had done or the potential I had or recognizing my strengths. It was simply, are you doing enough of the work you're supposed to be doing? And are you getting enough of the results? And are you moving on and hitting these levels? And if you're not, then get out of here. We don't want to hear from you. And I was always belittled and made feel that I wasn't, that I had no value, or that they didn't see my strengths, even though I did certain things that mentors couldn't do. Like when I was in my 20s, I went to Jamaica 15 times, and I helped launch a network marketing company down there and built a massive team of hundreds of people, helped people down there make a lot of money, stuff that my mentors couldn't do, but they never valued that or cared for that. So it was like this criticism, I guess, of that I'm not just this, like, put my head down and grind. That's just not my style. Like, it's just not who I am. And I don't see people as tools to achieve a goal. I see them as partnerships, and how can we both win? And so I think in network marketing, I really felt small because of that. And now I'm in a business where I'm able to leverage that strength. And whenever we get to this part, I can share about what's going on in my company now and how I'm finally in a place where I can use all these strengths, and they're helping me catapult my business ahead.
Dude, well, I mean, gosh, on that note, I do want to ask Michelle the same question. But Paul, I want to get back and hear about, what's going on now. So Michelle, what about you? Because I can't imagine you get a lot of criticisms, but has there been one kind of a common theme that you realize is actually that's a strength, that's not a weakness?
Yeah, I think that I'm too much. That's always been my thing. Like, she's just too much, or
too confident, too outspoken.
You're too much of a feminist was always my thing.
She'd get banned from talking to married women because she'd be empowering them too much.
I always tell, I just don't settle for like little things. I also don't get impressed by little things, if Paul proposes to me in a motherfucking Dunkin' Donuts, I'm going to say no. I said, next time, try again. If the ring is not at least 5 carats, I'm like, try again.
I love it. Know your worth.
And it's not because like, oh, you're ungrateful. Like always, there's people that are hungry out there. I get it. I used to be hungry too. I used to look for pennies and dimes just to get on the bus so I can go to school. Like, I get it. I grew up in the Bronx. I was poor. But in my mind, I always knew that I am the daughter of a king, and that the person that created me also created this world. So I am worthy of great things. And so I think that's another big criticism, is that
your standards
my standards are too high, and that it really does affect some women that maybe have settled in their life. And they're just like, well, Michelle, you don't know my situation. Hey, you don't know my situation either. You don't know where I've been through. You don't know how many toxic men I've been with. You don't know how many abusive relationships I've been in. And so I've learned from those experiences that I was going to attract a man that was going to be like, meet my standards and blow past it. And that's the reason why my man takes me on luxury trips every 2 months. And that's the reason why my man takes care of me very well. And he takes me all over the world on business class, front row seats. Like, I will not accept anything less. He wants to take me to a different country. I'm not flying economy ever again. I do not clean this kitchen. You hire somebody to do that, and it's just, that's a criticism that I ever had. And I think that, I think it's a strength, once more women see their power and they're confident in themselves and they raise their standards, you always, like they used to say in business, you will only attract things, people, companies, money, opportunities at your level or above. Your business will never surpass your self-esteem and your self-image ever. So wherever you are, whatever you attracted, as long as you continue to keep doing that work, it's going to continue to elevate and elevate and elevate and elevate. If you just stay stagnant, it's going to keep going backwards. So I think that's one of the criticisms I've had since I was like a teenager.
I see that man, that's powerful. This is, I don't know why I'm going to say this, but it's just, it's something that I observed just yesterday. I was looking on our YouTube and I was going through just some of the comments from our, I don't know, 38, 39 podcasts that we've had. And I noticed there's a likes and a dislikes, and they hide the dislikes, right?
Oh,
They what
talk too.
Yeah, they hide them from public view, but I can, you could see them on the back end.
Cool.
But what's interesting, and I don't know, maybe someone can go look and see the Wholesale Elite page. Out of the 39, 40 interviews or whatever that we've done so far, everything's 100%. All the likes are great. The only 2 people that have dislikes are both women. It's so weird. It's the strangest thing. And they're really good interviews.
That you interviewed?
On our podcast. Those are the only ones that had any sort of negative feedback.
Can you see what type of gender is watching the most?
Yes, we can. But one of those did have a comment. I'm just making an assumption. One of those negative things did have a comment, and the comment was negative, and it was left by a woman. And so I guess my next question is, how can, I don't want to say how can, I don't want to stay on this whole gender role, but I think it's very important because, obviously for anyone watching, I'm African American. You probably can't tell it by the sound of my voice. But I am, and there's a big thing, in our community that, hey, we need to look out for one another. And so I constantly ask myself, okay, cool. How can I champion this, but not isolate it at the same time? You know what I mean? Like, how can I push this agenda forward, saying, look, I agree, but that's not the hill I'm dying on. What would you say, what's your message for other women who maybe, see a person like you and maybe do feel overwhelmed or intimidated, and their natural intention is to push back? Because there's probably someone who's listened to this up at this point and said, rolled their eyes at something you said or did or whatever. What's your feedback to them?
Well, I mean, they might
be
not
nice.
It's not like, oh, Michelle,
I mean, unfortunately,
nice. But unfortunately, that has nothing to do with me.
Well, and I was going to say is, unfortunately, most people
are
not lucky enough to have someone in their life to tell them what they need to hear.
Right.
And so Michelle is saying something that some people may need to hear, but don't want to hear. And so they're going to dislike.
Or they're not ready to hear
it. Or they're not ready to hear it.
Their self-image is not ready to hear it.
When we were network marketing and people would tell us, oh, this is a cult, get out. And be like, no, you're wrong. And now we're like, oh, yeah, they were right.
You just got to, number one, if it's like whatever I'm saying is affecting your ego, or you are triggered, or you are, what's the word? I'm offended, or you are offended by whatever I'm saying. That has nothing to do with the words that I'm saying, and everything to do with who you are right now as a person, as a human being, and where you are in your life. And that's fine. If I would have heard this, 20, maybe 15 years ago, where I thought like gender roles was important, and I thought that I wanted to be married early and have kids early, I would have been like, girl, this girl is fucking crazy. Like, she gonna get killed. And so it's about elevation, and you will only vibe with people at your vibration or higher. So if you're not resonating with what I'm saying, we're just not vibing, and that's totally fine. Just turn the radio to another station.
The people who are ready to hear it, who can benefit from it, will hear it. The people who want to be angry at Michelle and want to stay complacent, or who are just not ready to hear it, that's fine.
That's totally
we
cool.
love them too, and we wish them the best.
For sure.
Just raise that vibration. Yeah, a mentor of mine said a long time ago, and I love it. I think of this all the time. He said, the truth will set you free, but first it'll probably piss you off.
Yes. I love that.
Yeah, I love that. I was like, it's so true. Gosh, everything that I needed to hear, I hated hearing.
For sure. I mean, I hated the fact that I had to let go of my acquisition manager. I hated it.
Oh, I hated when Michelle called me out of my shit.
Yeah, I hated it. I cried so much that week that all of this was going down. I mean, tears on tears. Like, I didn't want to get out of bed.
Because he probably didn't do the same thing.
Which is fine.
Man,
no, that's not right.
Right.
It totally pissed me off that I let him basically take control of my company. It's like, it pissed me off. And so but it set me free. Like I feel so free right now, and I feel so in control of everything that I'm doing. And that's really what I've always wanted.
Mm-hmm. You know, what's funny is I bet he does too. You know, there was probably the reason why he wasn't hustling, because there was probably something that he wasn't comfortable with telling you or something, you know, and because of that, it held him back. And then there was no productivity. And so now that, you know, everyone's free, everyone's free. Yeah. Everyone knows, you know, knows where everyone else stands. So well done.
Right. Exactly. If you love something, set it free. And let it be. If it's meant to come back, it will. You know.
So good, so good. Paul, I want to go into what's new. Like tell me what's happened lately, man.
Yeah, and I wanted to add to what you said before about the criticism.
Please.
Because I think a better way of saying it is that I am a very empathic leader, which I think, especially with men, is not the normal. At least it isn't in the, you know, tradition. Right. I'm a big fan of Simon Sinek. If you guys haven't, you know, read anything by him, I highly recommend any of his books. The Infinite Game, I don't know if he has a newer one, but the last one I read is absolutely fantastic. Yeah. And it's all about how a lot of what he does is teaches leaders of major companies how to lead with empathy. And that is a big way of how they can really transform their company and actually get people to want to come into work, because his passion is about how can I get people to want to be excited about their jobs, to be excited about what they do every day. That's his passion. And so I think that style of leadership doesn't work in network marketing, or at least it hasn't a lot of the times, because it's a very much, like I said, if you're not doing what you do, I don't want to hear from you. I'm going to replace you. I can only put the people on the stage who are doing the work. We don't care if you like people or care for people. That doesn't mean anything. And so that style of leadership, while it led me to a lot of success, didn't benefit me the way they wanted to. And then also I'm the type of person where it's like, I want to work hard, and then I want to build a team to let them work hard, so I don't have to work hard anymore. You know, that who not how mentality, right? My idea in network marketing was always to build 3 different teams, really big, so they're successful and I'd make money. And now I'm doing the exact same thing in my business. It's you know, it's taken 2 years to build the groundwork to get here and to get myself right and get the foundation right. And now it's the most exciting times. And it's like she said about the self-image. You know, we have never attracted more high quality people in my company than I have ever before. For sure. So we brought in a batch of people back in, I think, January. And one of these people, he was already a successful wholesaler in Georgia. He already was doing his own flips. He's an agent, like just a really quality person. When I interviewed him, I was even like, why do you want to work for me? You know, making only a percentage of the assignment fees. You could do it yourself. And he wanted to learn our strategies and how we did things. And so he came aboard. He's been averaging $5,000 a month of income just from us, from a couple hours a week of effort. And now he's built these agent relationships that he barely has to work anymore. He's just continuing to build these relationships. And then they get these deals off market before anybody else gets them, sends us to us, and we moved them. And he sent us 2 deals, moved them both, and now he sends us everything. And so not only that, he partnered with this guy where he's not just doing Tennessee deals with us. The guy's sending him deals in Georgia, and they're doing them on the side for himself. So it's creating this win-win-win scenario. Why would he ever want to leave us now?
Sure.
You know? And then now we just brought on, we have a trial run now. We do trial runs before we bring people in. That just started today with 8 people. 7 of them are from Tennessee. One's from Colorado. I'm opening a Colorado department because Michelle won't hire men. So, and these are the highest quality people that I've ever brought on. People who are already very successful in real estate. The only people I've ever had in my acquisition team actually close a deal are people who are already confident on the phone and already successful in real estate. Any newbie who comes in, they're always weird and never works. So I'm bringing in people who are already successful agents in Tennessee. One of my buyers is now a part of my acquisition team.
Nice.
So crazy.
Oh, wow.
I have agents in Colorado. I have, you know, flippers. Like I have people who are people who worked full-time at wholesale companies, people who all these different things, and they're all now coming in. It's so exciting. I've never prepared them more. I've never been more clear about what our company stands for, what we're about. And then on top of that, Michelle's launching a Texas department one of my people is from Texas, so she's going to work with her. And then I am launching a direct to seller department, which I've never done before. So I'm just figuring all this stuff out. And just like the same mentality in network marketing, I'm putting it here. How can I find the right people, empower them, encourage them, set the stage, and allow them to do what they love to do? I don't want to call sellers. I don't want to call agents. but I'm going to find people who love doing it, who are good at it. And you know what I like doing is I like empowering these people. I like encouraging these people and making sure that they feel appreciated and helping them win, right? And then I like dispo sales of the property. So it creates this beautiful symbiotic relationship. And like this guy who's going to hopefully lead our direct to seller department, he has only ever done it himself. He's never led a team. And so now I'm teaching him how to do that. And so it's like really exciting, right? So there's so many amazing things happening. I closed a $50,000 deal while we're in Thailand. That was such a crazy,
50.
Yeah, $50,000.
We were in Thailand.
It was like 1.7 million Thai baht or whatever, which is like more than the average Thai person makes in like 5 years or something. And then even today, FedEx showed up. I just got a check in the mail. So I thought
it was in his pajamas. I'm like, what?
Awesome.
He was trying to surprise me. I'm like, a check?
So things are happening. We just closed our 7th deal of the year. You know, we don't close the most deals, but we set our goal to make the highest assignment fee, which averages around 25,000. So even our wholesale, our acquisition partners are making $5,000 a deal. So it's crazy. That's full-time job income, you know?
One thing I want to the piggyback, and I know I haven't said much because I've been a fly on the wall, which has actually been really nice because I've got like a whole page of notes. Like I feel like I'm learning so much from you guys. So the one thing I wanted to mention though is I feel like you have to have, well, it's more of a compliment first, a compliment to both of you on both of y'all's self-awareness. Incredible. You know what your strengths are. You know where maybe your weaknesses are. But I think that's for the who, not how of entrepreneurs or business owners. I feel like in order to know who to replace or who to bring on, you need to be self-aware. You need to know what your strengths and weaknesses are. And so you need to have that time, like you guys were saying earlier in the episode, to reflect, have that moment of peace in your mind where this is what I need to work on in myself before you can really take that next step. And I think that just shows why you guys have been so successful at building your companies and your businesses and attracting good people. Again, because the people that you do attract, the universe knows you guys are self-aware enough to know those people were placing weaknesses in yourself. And so I think it's like a whole circle of life type of thing, and you guys are killing it. And I had to jump in and just applaud before I forget. I have it written down, but
of course.
Thank you.
And everything we do, we want to be a blessing because we believe God wants to bless the people that's blessing others, and we'll be a blessing with the money, good stewards of the money. Right. So like we've had, life is kind of like this. It's usually a plateau and then a growth and then another plateau. And it feels like we've been in a bit of a plateau because we had so much internal growth. Yeah. Right. And now the external growth is coming, and we're very, very excited about it.
Yeah.
It's like the old bamboo tree that story.
That's it. I love that story. That brings me back.
Yeah, we heard that too many times in marketing, but yes.
Yeah, for real. Or the pumping of the well.
Or 3 feet from gold. Like there's so many stories.
I love it.
There's one thing I do want to share to anybody. Like if there's one piece of wisdom I could leave, which we've already said it, but to make it clear is, stop looking for the answers anywhere but within yourself. Right. Stop idolizing other human beings, whether you think it's a mentor or a coach or a celebrity, or even us. Like they're all just regular human beings. Some of them want that, recognition. Some of them don't. But, just be careful because when you search for the answers in other people, they can manipulate and control you because then you need them.
Or they can limit you. Yes. You can be better than us. You can be better than Jamil. You can be better than all these other gurus out there. And so if you just want to be like us, like Jamil, like all these other gurus out there, maybe God just has a plan for those people to just hit here. But for you, he may want you to hit over there, but because you're so bogged down on this limit, it's like it can really just stop you from such exponential growth. So this is one of the reasons why Paul and I, we don't have idols at all. We don't look up to people. We only look up to our source, our God. And this is why you don't really see us at all these events and hoorah, and why we only agree to podcasts with people that we actually know and we vibe with. Like we don't want recognition. We don't want to be on crazy stages. We don't want to be the conference calls and meetings, and it's just like
let me hire people to run it.
Well, yeah, right. And it's mainly because it's like we are working towards talking to God and being in solitude and talking to ourselves as to where does God want to take us to, and then just following that path. That's it. We're not looking up to the next we're not trying to be the next Jamil, the next anybody. We're just focusing on becoming the best version of ourselves and where God wants to take us.
Because, and for 10 years, we were blinded and didn't see that our mentors, that we idolized, had their own agenda and their own desire to limit us and control us. And we don't want other people to go through that.
Yes.
Although most people.
And they already have.
Can't serve two masters, right? That's powerful. Dude, let me ask you, because you touched on something, and I genuinely am asking you this because I want to get your take. It's not just for the audience, to learn something, but I would like to know. I consider myself a high EQ person, right? I'm very tapped into my emotions. We talked about Tanner and I that like we met recently for the first time. We worked together for a while.
No way! Isn't that the best when you meet somebody in person? It's like, I love that.
Yeah, I mean, I dapped him up and everything, but it's like I had known him. You know what I mean? It wasn't even weird. I kind of like, but it was good. It was good. But our first time, we're driving. We got about a 2-hour drive, and I go past an old mentor of mine's place, and I just start freaking boo-hooing in the truck. I'm trying to tell him the story, but I can't get it out. Like, I can't. So Tanner's a savage. He has absolutely no emotions. He's just stone cold, like. But nonetheless, EQ. Paul, you had mentioned, about the book, about Simon Sinek's book, and how it really helps, people to be able to, tap into their emotions a little bit. Let me ask you candidly, do you think it's possible for someone who has low EQ or just no EQ to, like, you can't improve your IQ? You know what I mean? You're either intelligent or you're not. Can you improve your EQ?
Yeah, I think so. I think the biggest issue is most people who are in that place either are unaware of it or unwilling to change it, or both. And so, because Simon Sinek talks a lot, he goes into these major companies to help them make these shifts. And it's really, really hard because obviously it starts with the leadership, which sometimes needs to change. So it's a very, very hard shift, which can be done. Right. But it's not easy, but there has to be that desire there to change. Just like, can an obese person lose weight, even if they've been obese their whole life? Yeah, of course. But it has to take a real desire to change and to do things differently, which is just not easy. And then sustainable change, not just lose the weight, but keep it off. So, and then some people just, pretend that they're gaining an IQ just to make it seem like they're woke or whatever it is. So, it's again, like all of these are just boxes of identity that people use to hold themselves back. So, I think if somebody wants to do that, like I remember one time somebody asked me like, how do you built all these big teams? This is back in network marketing and like Jamaica and all these places, and they're so big, and how do you do it? And I'm just like, I care about people. It's like, I don't know. How do I teach that to somebody?
Right.
Like I truly care about these people on my team. I don't want to replace them. I want to see them win. But in that environment, it's very like, no, you just replace them if they don't do the work. So that my thinking didn't really work so well there. So I don't know how to teach it. I feel like I just attract people who have it. But yeah, if somebody wants, I'm sure improvement can be had. Right. Maybe Michelle has a better answer.
No, totally. Because, I was definitely that person with a low EQ where I didn't really care about people. I didn't care about their emotions. I just wanted to grind. I wanted to get to the top. I want to get to the top of the pyramid. I wanted to be the keynote speaker. I wanted all the accolades. And so it definitely took some time for me to like take a step back. I read this book called How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. Literally changed my life. And really tapping into my empathic nature. I'm a very empathic person. I feel energy like the wind, like I feel it as soon as it touches me. And so really tapping into that and seeing that is the major strength. And again, spending a lot of time in solitude to really recognize what that looks like and knowing how to empathize with other people and putting yourself in other people's shoes and increasing that emotional intelligence. And a lot of people think emotions is, weakness, and it's actually a strength to be able to sit down and, if someone's hurting, like literally sit down with them and listen to them and empathize and feel their pain and offer advice or offer some type of guidance. So it's really special.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And being genuine with it, you know,
Yeah, for sure.
That's huge. And guys, I mean, you guys are always wonderful people. And again, thank you for your time and for coming on our show. And I do want to, you know, start to wrap this up, but I have to ask, because I'm just curious, you guys, you know, you've had quite the journey. You guys have been in personal development for a minute now, you know, and you've done a lot of self-work. At this point, what's one of the books that you recommend the most in your business right now?
I mean, it really depends on
where they are
and what this person needs. I mean,
Great
Who Not
response.
How, Who Not How is definitely a book for people who want to really
scale.
lead an organization and scale. I think The Infinite Game by Simon Sinek is really good because it's helping people understand that business is an infinite game, not a finite game. So people just make such short-sighted decisions, right? I want to win on this deal. I want to make this assignment fee. I want to get this deal done, but then you're burning a relationship, right? That's a finite thinking in a game that's infinite, right? My goal is not to do a deal this month. My goal is to do a deal every month, continually, right? That I could either give this company to my kids one day or sell it to somebody one day. Either way, it's an infinite game. And so I think that is a very good book that probably most people in real estate have not read. Yeah, that's
Have you heard? I just reached back because you mentioned earlier about Buddhism, and my best friend is I wouldn't call it. I guess maybe he'd call himself a Buddhist. I don't know, but he's really into studying and learning the philosophies. And he's the guy I was telling you about, who's the doctor right there in Phoenix. But he told me about this book called The Diamond Cutter by Geshe Michael Roach.
I think we have that on our Amazon.
I don't know that one.
Yeah, but I think I've seen that. What's the author?
So his name's Geshe Michael Roach.
Okay.
For any of those that are listening, I don't give book recommendations. I mean, I've got books and audiobooks and all that stuff. And same as you guys. It's tough. I had a guy text me last night and ask me, "Hey, what's a book? What's a book that you'd like to read?" And I said, "Man, it really does depend on where you're at right now. Because I don't want to just give you a random book. But Think and Grow Rich. Go read it. Knock yourself out." But more specifically, this book is cool because I'll tell you about this book and then I'll tell you about another one right after that's also written by him.
Yeah.
So my best friend, he recommended this book to me and I'm like, The Diamond Cutter. He's like, dude, once you start it, you're not going to want to put it down. And so I start reading this thing and sure enough, I'll tell you really quick. So Geshe Michael Roach is a title in Buddhism and it's almost like professor, but it's like the highest level, like attainable, right? In Buddhism for that title. Now, Michael Roach is the only American Geshe ever. Like there hasn't been another one since, and his story is incredible. But he essentially talks about. He was an Ivy League guy. Some crappy stuff happened in his life. He ended up going to Tibet, studied at a monastery, didn't leave there. He stayed there for 20 years and just got really immersed in the culture and then in the practices and everything. And he ended up attaining the level of Geshe. Now, at the end, I forget what his teachers called or whatever, but he challenged him to go back to America and to start a business using all the philosophies that he's learned in Buddhism, but not able to tell anyone that this is Buddhism stuff. He had to keep it. And the business that he chose was the diamond business, like one of the dirtiest, businesses out there. Yes. And so it's an incredible story of how he took his diamond company from nothing to a multi-million-dollar company. And it's just the story, right? So that's The Diamond Cutter. This next one, I'm going to geek out. It's called Karmic Management.
Oh my gosh, you have some good recommendations. I'm going to write these down.
Well, I'll tell you, and I'll, I can send these to you afterwards. But
it sounds so good. It's funny because my last job ever before the pandemic shut down everything was in the diamond industry. And when you said it's a very dirty business, that is 1000% correct. It is. Oh my gosh, dirty. Thankfully, I was just, I was kind of like the office manager, so. I didn't. I just saw the numbers roll in like 6-figure days.
No blood's on my hands. I'm good.
And I saw these beautiful diamonds every day, but the business is crazy. So I'm definitely right now.
Well, real quick, I will say Karmic Management. This is also written by Geshe. He wrote that book afterwards. That book is wild because the first one's a story, right? The first one gets you like, wow, that's really cool. Like, I didn't know. I understand karma so much better. I thought karma was just you do this and it comes back at you, good or bad. And that is a very simplistic answer. Karmic Management actually teaches you the practical application of karma. And I mean, it is so specific. Like if you are having a relationship problem in your business to where these two coworkers can't get along, something like that. He's like, go to a nursing home and help for 2 weeks. Or so. Very specific, very practical steps. And then he explains how the karmic energy offsets. The reason why this is happening is because this is happening. Fix this and this will change. And my best friend who's a doctor, I was like, dude, really? He's like, try it. It's worked for me. I've seen his business go from nothing to now he's traveling the world and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. And this is in the period of a year and a half. So yeah, those are great books. I
added that to my Amazon cart immediately. Love it. Yeah, I love that.
If you like that, you're gonna love. If you haven't read it, if you haven't read this book already,
The Surrender Experiment.
Have you read this?
No, I haven't even heard of it.
Oh, right.
It is very similar to The Diamond Cutter. It's about this guy who lives in the woods. All he wants to do is meditate in the woods. He's getting his master's degree, and he just makes this decision. I'm just going to surrender to whatever comes to me, even if that voice in my head doesn't want it. I'm just going to surrender to it. And he goes from meditating in the woods by himself to running a multi-billion-dollar company
that he didn't even want.
Awesome.
And ended up getting falsely accused of all this stuff and losing the entire company.
And he's just chill.
And then ended up becoming really wealthy from these books. And he has basically a meditation center where everybody he works with goes and meditates with him. And then this is like the story version. And then he has the Untethered Soul, which is the practical application book about it.
Fantastic, dude. Thank you so much. As soon as we end this, I'm buying that because I'm ready to get to that next level.
You're going to be on edge with that book. It's amazing. And it just reminds me of we're obviously all in real estate. We're here to make money. And, I think that's another big thing that kind of affects me within the industry is it's all about the money, the hustle, the grind, the noise and stuff like that. And so when we were in Thailand, we got the privilege of spending time with elephants. And if you've never spent your time or energy around these amazing wisdom loving animals, you just have to make the trip out there. And we literally met people that dedicate their whole lives to taking care of just elephants. And it just puts so many things into perspective for us that there's so many people just literally ruining their marriages, killing themselves mentally, physically, just to be the best of the best in real estate. And then we met people that are the happiest people ever, just taking care of beautiful animals in a sanctuary. These are animals that have been beaten up and abused by tourists. And so they now get to take care of them. And this sanctuary takes care of all the generations of families that are going to take care of these elephants. And it's just put so many things into perspective, right? When you read the book, this man, all he wanted to do was meditate in the woods all day, every day. And then just surrendering to God and surrendering, it led him to owning $1 billion company that he didn't even want. And he just used that to bless more people. It's just such a beautiful perspective to have,
Thank you guys. Thank you so much for sharing that. I want to ask one last question and just kind of in closing. It's kind of a big one, but I think you guys will knock it out of the park. But I want to ask it to each of you. And Paul, I'll start with you first. How do you measure success?
Ooh. That's a good one. That's a tough question.
I don't think there's one answer.
Yeah.
I think how much I live up to the potential that I see in myself is a very big one. That how much I'm living as the best version of myself, the most authentic version of myself, living most in alignment with who I see myself as, right? So like right now we're, competitive athletes, and like that, doing that makes me feel so authentic and so grounded in who I am. I think overcoming things that I didn't think I could do, like building a successful company that pays me, and in that journey, that's a success to me. Attracting such high quality people, that's like validation to me of like, wow, the shit we're doing is working.
Right.
Like we're succeeding because look at who wants to work with us.
Right.
You know what I mean? And the people that we get to impact. I just had a friend over who's like a flexologist, and we empowered him to start his own company, and I'm helping him get his LLC and get clients. And it's like the ability that I get to share what I love doing and help others. And I just feel so, I guess to summarize it is, just like in this book, it's how in the flow of life am I? How much am I really surrendering in living in that highest vibration of excitement for my life?
Oh, it's so good. Thank you for that. Thank
So
you. Michelle, what do you got?
Gosh.
How do you measure success?
How do I measure success? So, in the beginning, like, again, our network marketing days.
Money.
That's how I measure success many years ago, right? It's validation and success and recognition and money and all that stuff. Gucci bags and how many luxury cars and stuff like that, like you own. It's so interesting because Paul and I, we don't really, we don't own a house, we don't own cars, but we do own our life 100%, and I saw this, I was listening to this podcast and I sent the quote to Paul. I'm going to read it to you because I think it's so powerful. And it says, detachment, which is really what our lifestyle is as nomads, is every 2 months, we technically don't have a home. We do have a lease house. We were leasing a house here in Arizona just because we didn't want to go back and forth with storage lockers and stuff. So that's perfect. But with our lifestyle, we are 2 months in the US, every month we're away. So it balances out to 6 months in the US, 6 months outside. And so every time it's time to go to another country, we're detached from all of our belongings, all of our jewelry, and like all the things that we have, our habits, our activities, our communities, like we completely detach. And so this Jay Shetty was the podcast I was listening to, and he said, detachment doesn't mean you own nothing. It means nothing owns you.
Oh,
so good, right? And I feel like that's really what Paul and I embody, is that we may not be multimillionaires through the things that we own, but or like that we have. Like we don't own a lot of real estate. We're just not yet, at least. We're really building up the cash to be able to own real estate all over the world. That is our major goal. But I feel like right now there's 2 ways that I measure success. Is number one, the owner of the education company we used to be a part of said, success is about how many people are better off because you've lived. And so there's two ways to look at this, right?
Sure.
I feel like a lot of people, a lot of gurus especially, they hear that quote, and so they want to create communities where they can control people, and they want to like ruin their marriage and go be around and travel the world to be able to like be around people, and I need to help people, I need to bless people. And I feel like that's the toxic way of doing it. Whereas the way that I see it is, I still do believe that success is how many people are better off because of our example and who we are as people. And so Paul and I, we just live by example and let the vibrations of our life like reach the right people and make a ripple effect. So that way we attract the right people that we can empower. Our CrossFit coach never left the country ever. And we guided her and helped her come to Thailand with us.
Nice.
And we paid for all the activities. She just had to get there, so she never left the country before. She got her passport the day before she got on the plane. Like that is an effect. Like she said, she's never been the same since then. The flexologist that left the toxic work environment to start his own company, and we're his first clients. That's somebody that benefited, and is impacted, If you look at what Jamil is doing, right, he's created a blueprint for people like us to be able to follow, and we're better off because of what he created. And so it's definitely that is the healthy way of that quote, is how many people are better off because we have lived in our example. And then the second way that I measure success is I remember hearing another quote where it's like, the worst, you want to know what's my biggest nightmare, and everybody's worst nightmare should be, is going to heaven and God showing you who you could have been. Right. And so that is where I'm in right now. Is like, my birthday is International Women's Day, March 8th. I've had this vision of impacting and empowering women since I was in Amway. And, you know, I've been a little bit complacent lately with, you know, how much money we've been making and finally being able to travel. And, you know, I just live such a chill life. I wake up whenever I want. I do whatever I want. And so, but in the back of my mind, I keep thinking about this vision and this purpose that God has planted in my heart for a long time. And I've kind of put it to the side because I didn't want the recognition. I don't want to like coach everybody. And so my biggest fear is going to heaven and God showing me who I could have been to other women, who I could have been at this level that God was trying to take me to. And so that's how I define success, as becoming everything that I'm meant to be in this lifetime. And then also letting my life be an example to inspire people and say, you know, because of Paul and Michelle, I'm traveling, you know, because of Paul and Michelle, I've been able to, you know, pay for my daughter's education. And so that's really how I define it for myself.
Oh, so powerful. I feel like I'm sitting on the front row right now, like just leaning in, like this is good.
Thank you
guys. I mean, you guys are clearly just wonderful people. You have huge hearts of gold, and I can sit here and give all the accolades. But guys, I want all of you, the listeners, the audience, to experience Paul and Michelle for real. Like, how can people work with you? How can people get in touch with you? Can they send you deals? Are you letting women, like, are women able to come on your team now?
Yeah. So we'll send you our application for women to apply to work for my all women's company. And then
I have a link for anybody.
Hey, let's go, Paul.
All genders.
All are welcome.
There you go, Paul.
So
I don't discriminate.
Paul doesn't discriminate. I discriminate. So we'll have 2 links of applications, and then we'll drop our emails for people to send us deals.
Yeah, we're working in Tennessee, Colorado, and we're about to launch in Texas. So
by the time this drops, we'll definitely have Texas department all set up and go. So those 3 markets are our markets, and they can email it. Yeah, and then they can reach out to us on Instagram at Michelle Garabito and at Create Abundance. The E in Create is a 3. So we'll have it, I'm sure, in the show notes.
Absolutely.
And follow our journey. We're heading to Europe this summer, and it's going to be amazing. And we have some really fun plans out there in Europe, and we have a lot of exciting things happening that we can share later on.
Absolutely. Awesome. We're definitely going to link all that stuff up. Guys, go follow them, connect with them. These are people that you want to get to know. These are people that you want to, observe and learn from. I mean, obviously, this is the second interview we've done with them, and we've probably got 3 hours recorded, in total. So this is incredible. You guys, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for coming on the show again. You guys are always a huge blessing, and we're better now for sure.
Yes.
Guys, look, all the audience. Oh, dang it. I missed what you said. What'd you say?
He said next time, maybe part 3 or something, we'll record it when we're in a different country. That would be really cool. We're completely different people when we're in a different country.
Let's do that. Part 3, we'll be in another country. And for anyone out there who's tired of hearing about MLM, we won't talk about it in part 3, I promise.
Part 3 will be everything that we talked about, because everything we talked about is pretty fresh and new. We're in the building stages right now. Yeah. So hopefully we can give you I know we will give you some really great results and success of what happens when you leave the comfort zone. So it'll be great to share.
Let's go. Guys, awesome. Look, here's the deal. You've got to go out there and hustle and get it done. You have to. You owe it to your family. You owe it to yourself more so than anyone else. Go out there, get it done. Keep working, because we want to have you right here where Paul and Michelle are on that screen, interviewing you and telling your story and sharing it to the world, because you have no clue who you're going to impact until you get it done. And so, guys, I'm just leaving that with you for now. We want to see you here. So until that day, come back, keep listening, keep watching, keep learning, but most importantly, keep taking action. And we'll see you on the next episode. Peace.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
What up, Elite fan? That's a wrap for today's episode. But look, if you got value out of the show today, do us a huge favor and give us a review or give us a like or subscribe. Do all the things to help us get the word out there. And look, we want to see you on the next show. So get out there and crush it, make it happen. Stay tuned for the next episode. Peace.